Welcome to Women in Data Science, Trinidad and Tobago. This is our Fireside Chat session, and we are happy to have you on board today for this really exciting, informal panel discussion with some of our esteemed female data scientists in and around the globe. So, of course, we all know that this week we celebrated International Women's Day. And of course, it's an opportunity for us to embrace equity. And the theme this year was Digital, Innovation, and Technology for Gender Equality. So I just want to also extend a huge congratulations to all women and girls who are advancing transformative technology and digital education in the field. We are making tremendous strides in the area and are true trailblazers. Now, of course, for some of you who have not joined us previously, the Women in Data Science group is actually part of a global network through Stanford University to support the annual conference. It started in 2015 at Stanford and it has grown tremendously with conferences globally. There are 200 plus regional events. We have Datathon challenges, podcasts, WiDS Next Generation outreach for secondary schools, and of course, a lot of workshops and webinars as we have been hosting. And really, the idea is to celebrate, inspire, educate, and support through extensive programming worldwide and of course, regionally. So I just want to give you all a gist of what it means to be a WiDS ambassador. I'm a proud WiDS ambassador. So I'm going to play a short video.
Hello, my name is Flora Huang, and I'm from Philadelphia, USA.
Hello, we are Women in Data Science.
I became a WiDS ambassador because I dream of an equitable world where empowered women help humanity make better decisions through data science.
As a woman, I'm hoping more Peruvian women would be motivated to join this exciting field.
The WiDS community has really enhanced my sense of purpose in these life goals, and it has really built my confidence in such a meaningful way to be able to mentor, motivate, and support others.
The most rewarding and impactful aspect about my work as a clinical data scientist is to use the data generated by doctors, nurses, and the healthcare system to improve the care of future patients.
I'm delighted to bring this event to Pakistan, along with so many WiDS ambassadors worldwide, so that we can inspire all young girls or women to take up career in data science.
The use of data science to address climate change and sustainability issues continues to inspire me in my data science journey.
Through WiDS Alexandria, I've got the chance to meet with brilliant female professors, learn about the research, and bring that to my community as well.
I'm a WiDS ambassador because I wanted to inspire more young girls like me to join the field of data science, and I believe that in the future there must be more women in this field.
I'm really excited to continue bringing WiDS events to my school and schools across Australia to empower girls to get involved in the field.
It's great that we've got Women in Data Science events and know that there's so many more inspiring stories as part of Women in Data Science journey.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Bertozzi, and I am a chemist who works in the area of drug discovery. I've had many opportunities in my life to collaborate with data scientists. They've been absolutely central to the work that we do. We couldn't have made the discoveries that we've made without having people to analyze very large data sets and to help us find hidden trends within them. Now, when I was growing up, I was somewhat insulated from the idea that women or girls couldn't everyone had that privilege. I hope that all of you women data scientists or aspiring data scientists will truly feel that you belong in the field, because I believe it, and your participation is absolutely essential for us to bring the full benefits of data science to solve the big problems in humanity. So just as I was so fortunate to have a family that created an environment where I could believe in myself as a scientist, I'm hoping that you all have the confidence to pursue your dreams and that you help the generation that follows you in the same way that hopefully someone of my generation can be of help to you. Good luck with all of your work.
Okay, so I hope you all got an appreciation for what we have been trying to achieve on a global scale with respect to the WiDS network. So this also takes us to, for those of you who would have been part of our series of workshops over the past few months, we had teams entering a Datathon challenge. And the theme this year for the 2023 Datathon Challenge was climate change. So in that way, global teams were able to use data science skills to make predictions for climate change in teams that comprised of at least 50% females. And this took place from January 4th to March 1st. And we're very excited today to announce not only the teams on the global leaderboard, but also the teams who placed on our local leaderboard. So we will have that segment post the Fireside Chat, and we will have one of the winning team actually give us some words about the experience. And in terms of our group, of course, you can feel free to reach out to us in terms of our website. We are also on YouTube and LinkedIn, and we post all of our sessions. It's freely available for public consumption, and we are really happy to have your support in these endeavors to really motivate and elevate women in the field. So let us begin our session, and we are going to really look at the attitudes and perceptions of data science from the female perspective. This is just a short agenda. So we're going to have a chat in our first session. Hopefully we will go from 75 to probably 90 minutes in terms of our chat. We have 6 wonderful female data scientists who are really excited and enthusiastic to give you some context as to what they do in the field. So we will have that as our first bit, and then we'll have a short Q&A, and if we are able to, a speed networking session, or just have everybody kind of give some context as to how they feel about the field and these pertinent issues. And of course, as I said, in session 3, we'll talk about our leaderboard winners. So now it's time to meet your moderators. So first, in terms of the introductions, I'd just like you to know you have 2 moderators today, yours truly, and of course, Davina O'Brien. Before we go on, I think there are 2 messages in the chat, but I am unable to open the window. So if anybody could alert me.
That's just me sharing some house cleaning notes. So
okay, great, excellent. Right. So I'm really excited because Maria is really a trailblazer in the field as well. So I'll let her give you a context in a little bit about her background. Of course, as I mentioned before, I am the WiDS Trinidad ambassador. So you can call me Leticia. I am, I would say, a woman of many hats. I'm a project officer and statistical consultant at the University Office of Planning at the University of West Indies, St. Augustine campus. I'm also an adjunct lecturer in various courses in different faculties at the UWE St. Augustine, related to statistics and research. And I am really just excited about sharing the knowledge, the power, the essence of statistics and data science in terms of outreach and such as these. I will bring in my co-moderator, Maria, now to give you some of her background and to let you know all about who she is. So Maria, take the floor.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Davina O'Brien. I am a Google Developer Groups and Google Women Tech Makers organizer and ambassador for Trinidad and Tobago. I'm also a mental health innovator, focusing on disrupting the mental health space when it comes to emergency and crisis response. As we know, that's a really big issue right now with climate change and climate resilience. So we're really passionate about the work we do at MindWise Project. Dr. Addison is actually one of our advisors, so we're very excited to continue working with her as well. She's very inspiring to all of our students and student volunteers. So thank you so much for all you do. Other than that, I am also a community leader when it comes to mental health, representing with the UN SDG goals. And of course, all of the alignment that happens here with gender equality, accessibility to technology, and of course, financial inclusion. So thanks everyone for having me. Happy to be here.
Great. And really happy to have such an esteemed woman in our midst. I mean, it's really an honor for you to join us, Maria.
Thank you so much.
And of course, I mean, what you all really came for would be our panelists. I'm really happy to say, firstly, before I let Maria take the floor on the panelists, we have persons from, we have Australia in the call, we have Senegal, we have United States, and we have Trinidad. So I'm feeling very happy about having that global integration. So I'll have Maria give you all a short introduction to each of them.
Okay, so I think what we might start off with is we're going to start off with the questions now, right, Dr. Addison?
Oh, no, you just give a little intro.
Yes. Okay, so today's panelists are Miss Usha Rengaraju, who is a head data scientist for EXA Protocol in Australia, Miss Sokar Sam, who is an ML NLP researcher, computer science lecturer, Daos, Senegal, Miss Sarah Ostermeyer, who's a field data scientist at Arthur's, United States of America, Mindy Mohammed, who is a data analyst for TBR Lab. Is it not TBR Lab? It's
TT Lab, and she's at
Lab. Thank you.
Yeah.
Trinidad and Tobago, and Miss Mercedes Kwame. Hold on a second, please.
Mercedes is an educational officer at the Ministry of Education in Trinidad. Yes.
Yeah, and sorry, Miss Sabiha Mohammed, data scientist for Trinidad and Tobago, and I'm not forgetting anyone. That's
yes, she's she's also a business intelligence manager at SM Jalil, right? So we have like a whole array of persons joining us today. So I'm going to stop sharing, and Maria, you are going to take it away with our questions.
Sounds good.
Yes. So you can share your screen and she'll start us off.
Okay, guys, so our fireside chat is going to start. We're very excited to have this conversation between these amazing data scientists, leaders, and influencers today. So let's get to know each other. So first, we would like each one of the panelists today to start off by telling us your name, your academic background, what about the job that you're doing right now, and of course, any special projects that you're doing in data science, like what Dr. Addison is doing right now. So we can start with Sarah.
Sure. Hi. So I'm Sarah Ostermeyer. My academic background is a little bit just different directions here. So I started with neuroscience, where I was initially studying to sort of be a neuroscience researcher. I kind of pivoted and I did my master's in machine learning and computer science. So that's kind of my educational background. Right now, I am working as a field data scientist at a company called Arthur AI. So just kind of very broad description of what that means. It's a tech startup in New York City, and we are focused on helping basically any large company, small company, other companies that sort of make use of machine learning, to helping them to operationalize that. So really in that MLOps space. And my particular job there is a field data scientist, which means that I sort of am the person that's sent out into our clients to help them figure out how to leverage our product to really make sure that their machine learning systems are working the way that they expect them to, and make sure that they're also fair to sort of sensitive groups that their models might be affecting. So in particular, we focus on fairness sort of towards marginalized groups. And then in terms of research interest, kind of relates to that. I'm really interested in how machine learning systems work in the places where they actually are actively functioning in the world. So one of the things that I've been researching lately is what information do you need to sort of track when you have a machine learning model in production? What is worth keeping track of? What do you need to do to make sure that model is performing well and continuing to perform well and treating people well? And what information do you need to track over that? So do you need to keep track of not just how the model is performing, but maybe you need to keep track of what data it was trained on, whether there are sort of particular groups in that data you need to specifically keep track of, things like that. And then the other thing I've been interested in lately is explainability or interpretability of machine learning models. And that's all for me.
Excellent.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
In the
sorry
meantime,
about that.
before Maria goes on, Sarah did a talk. For some of you who don't know, she did a really great talk with us a couple of weeks ago. So it's on our YouTube page. So you can feel free to reach out to us and find that content. Yes.
Great. So I think that was very interesting, Sarah. I mean, that's very dynamic work, especially in the field of like making AI and machine learning more accessible on a corporate level. So that's very important work, I think, that's being done. So thank you for sharing.
Sure.
Minnie Mohammed, one of our frequent GDG speakers, very happy to see you again. Would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself with our audience today?
Sure. So my name is Fazia Mindy Mohammed, but everybody calls me Mindy, so feel free to, yeah. I did my first degree in environmental and natural resource management in biology. And I then decided I wanted another one and did computer science. I had an appreciation of data and data collection techniques through my first degree, and then it really stemmed into my next degree when I started doing data analytics and industrial statistics. And when I finished my degrees, I went into data science with TT Labs. Currently, I work as a data analyst at Digicel, and my job often includes integrating machine learning models from one end to the next end, so that people can use whatever I derive from my machine learning models and my insights that you can gather from ML in a corporate setting. And my research interest is very far from that. I deal mostly with agriculture and AI. I'm looking at conservation right now in AI. I'm looking to build products, software products that integrate models to help people with conservation and data collection and those sorts of things. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Mindy. Sorry, I guess we all do call you Mindy. So thank you for that. Mercedes, would you mind sharing with us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi, morning, everyone. So my name is Mercedes Kwame. I have a bachelor's in economics and psychology, as well as a master's in social psychology. And I'm currently finishing up the MSc in data science at UU. In terms of my current job, I work as an education research officer at the Division of Educational Research and Evaluation at the Ministry of Education. So what we do there is we manage the student exam databases, specifically SEA, CSEC, and CAPE, and we also analyze and report on student performance trends. Aside from reporting on trends, we also try to conduct some inferential analyses. So for example, one thing that I'm extremely interested in is identifying the factors that are associated with student success. I'm also working on a project where I'm trying to implement machine learning models to predict student success. Hopefully we'll be able to, with this, identify students at risk of failing and be able to target them specifically with intervention.
Wow. I have so many questions, but I'm going to move. That's very exciting. We're definitely looking forward to hearing more about that. Thank you so much, Mercedes. Sabiha Mohammed, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, Maria. Hi, everyone. So My name is Sabiha Mohammed. I hold a bachelor's degree in mathematics and computer science and a master's degree in statistics, similar to Letitia in terms of that master's degree. So I've been working in this space for about 10 years now, and I'm currently the business intelligence manager at SM Jaleel, which is one of the largest non-alcoholic beverage manufacturer in the Caribbean. And there I manage a team of 4 analysts where we primarily focus on sales forecasting, revenue management, and pricing analytics. So we support the company with whatever analytics they need to be able to make their day-to-day decisions regarding forecasting for sales for new products, those type of things. And my research interest lies in behavioral science and data science, because I always, wonder why people do things the way they do. Like, one of the things that I've been toying with is like the Pennywise effect. I think, everybody knows that you go to Pennywise for one thing and you come out with 10. So
just to let people who don't know, Pennywise is a large cosmetics store in Trinidad. Yes, go ahead, Sabia. Yes.
So it might be similar to Sephora in the US. So I have a few ideas that I'm toying with, but primarily in the area of behavioral science that I'm yet to explore. So yeah, that's it for me.
That's very, very exciting. I love that Pennywise effect. That's amazing. You should definitely coin that term. That's great. So we're going to move on to Miss Usha Rengaraju. Would you mind just introducing yourself to our audience today?
Yeah, hi. Am I audible?
Yeah, we're hearing you. Yes, Usha, go ahead.
So I specialize in computer science engineering, but I started my career in the quantitative finance. So I've been, before starting out as a data scientist, I predominantly worked in the quantitative finance background. And after becoming a data science, currently my job is we work in the intersection of cybersecurity and AI. So Exa Protocol is a Web3 startup. So we are building a very decentralized storage device for the mobiles. This is the first of its kind startup. And so there are a lot of use cases of cybersecurity, like people can hack into the system and, mine all the, crypto tokens. So we are using AI to prevent that. So we are currently in the testnet phase. So we'll be releasing our product soon. So all of you can test it out. And for more information, you can head on to the website and check more about that. And that's about my current job. With regards to the research interest, I'm an advocate for neurodiversity. So I advocate a lot for AI for autism, how artificial intelligence can be used for, making the lives of autistic people better. You'll find my talk, a lot of my talks online. You can just put Data IQ space, Usha Rengaraju, AI for autism. You'll find a YouTube video which was hosted by Data IQ conference. So you'll be able to find all the use cases out there, which just in case if that is an interest for you as well, I would have highlighted around 5 to 6 use cases. I would have, precisely told like what the data set is, what the data workflow is, and how it can be productionized. And all of this will be covered in the talk. So if that is something of interest to you, you can go check out that YouTube talk. And I do contribute a lot to TensorFlow community. So I recently got the TensorFlow Community Spotlight Prize as well. So you can go and check my Kaggle notebooks. There'll be a couple of notebooks which won the Spotlight Prize award. Outside that, I also participate in certain competitions which is organized by ML developer programs at Google. Last year, I won the ML in Action Prize as well. So all of this is available in Kaggle. So you can check out my Kaggle profile. My name is Tensor Girl out there. And this is about me.
Yes. Before you go on, Maria,
yes,
Usha forgot to mention one of the most important things. She is a Kaggle Grandmaster, and her team won the Datathon in 2022. So there's a huge profile on her on our website, so you could always feel free to go and check that out as well. Yes, just wanted to add that, Usha. That's a very important point. And she also had a talk on our channel, our YouTube channel, that she did earlier in February, so you could also check that as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Letitia. And thank you, Usha, for sharing that. I'm very excited to learn more about your work with autism, obviously, because there's a lot of alignment with mental health and impact with regards to that. Okay, so we're moving on to the backstory of our
Oh,
panel.
wait, we missed out one person. That would be Sokar.
Oh, my bad.
That's okay. I know we have so many people to go through.
Sokar, my apologies. Do you mind telling us about yourself for our audience today?
Okay, thank you very much, Maria. Thank you, Leticia, also for inviting me. My name is Soha Sam. I'm from Senegal. So I did my background in applied mathematics and computer science, and I did a master in probability and statistics, and also a master in machine intelligence from the African Master of Machine Intelligence, which is let's say one of the biggest master program in Africa about machine intelligence and machine learning. So currently I'm a machine learning researcher. My work focuses more on natural language processing for low resources languages, like most of the African languages, where we're trying to see how we can make these NLP models work for few resources. So I mostly focus on machine translation. I'm also a lecturer, computer science lecturer at the Dakar American University of Technology. So yeah, my research interest is more like NLP, but also I work on climate change, AI for climate change, weather forecasting and flood management. So I started a work on that, and yeah, so that's about myself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sokar. Very, very exciting work from everybody. Very much looking forward to see how there's going to be alignment in the discussion today between all of the different projects that you all are working on. So we would like to hear a little bit of a backstory from how you got into data science. Maybe we can start this time with Mercedes. Mercedes, would you like to start us off?
Sure. So from my bachelor's and my master's and my current job, I always worked quite a bit with traditional statistics, but not so much with machine learning. But I eventually started looking into machine learning and prediction especially. And I thought it would actually be really invaluable in the work that we're doing at the ministry. And nobody, at least that I know, at the Ministry of Education or in education within Trinidad was using machine learning in this way and applying it in this way. So that prompted me to get into the master's program in data science, just so I could get the knowledge and skills to be able to apply it within this field and towards social issues in general.
Thank you so much, Mercedes. And I think that's probably a very common story with those of us who work in innovation, where there's a gap, we just fill it. So very good. Sokar, how about you take us to your backstory as to how did you get into data science?
Oh yeah, so well, myself, like I said, so since I did a master in statistics and probability, so I really wanted to go for some applied stuff. So I loved, dealing with data, stuff like that we used to do with statistics. So I wanted really to go for something similar to that. At the time, I maybe did not know very well about data science and machine learning, but I was lucky that I had a friend of mine who was already in the field, and she was used to tell me about, machine learning, how excited it is, data science, and I was like, yeah, I think this is what I really want. So that's how I started looking at, okay, how can I get to this field? What do I need? And then I had the chance to go to what is called the African Institute for Mathematics and Science, which is in Senegal, where I was doing big data and computer security. So doing big data, we started also doing some data science stuff and some machine learning stuff. So yeah, I was like, okay, I need to know more about this. It was really exciting. So I had also the chance to go for the African Master of Machine Intelligence, which is, as I said before, one of the biggest master program in Africa about machine intelligence, which is sponsored by Google and Facebook. So it's actually a big program. So I had the chance to go for that program in Ghana for 1 year training in machine learning. And so this is how it started. And after that, I started having jobs about the field. And yeah, I couldn't stop, looking for some new opportunity in this field. So I think it's like a long story. It's about passion and about, what you like to do. So this is how it started for me.
Right. I mean, that's a great story. And it sounds like you're exactly where you should be based on that pathway. So thank you so much, Sokar. Usha, would you like to share with us your backstory and how did you get into data science?
Yeah, sure. So after my graduation in computer science engineering, I started working for investment banking firms, and I worked for one of the biggest firms in fintech, like Temnos is a Swiss-based banking firm. And there predominantly I was working in wealth and wealth management and investment banking. So I always thought I'm going to end up becoming an investment banker. And so becoming a data scientist was not in my agenda at all. And so there were a lot of exams which I had to take based on the client requirements. In investment banking, the clients have certain examinations outside. Certain clients have restrictions like, they would want to deal with a person who's only a CFA. And certain banks have their internal examinations as well. You have to clear that if you have to work with them. And so I was just shaking a short break to do my CFA exams. And that's when I got a small opportunity. It was a short-term gig. To work on a side project, which is like they wanted somebody who understands data science really well. And they also wanted somebody who understands investment banking domain as well. They were building AI-based trading platform. And they said, just work with us for 20 hours a day. So I had good, although I was not working as a data scientist at that time, I was taking a lot of courses from Coursera and EDX as well, and upskilling myself in data science. And also I've done a lot of projects, open source projects and all that, but I was not working as a data scientist as such. So it was only 20 hours a week. So I thought I'll just give it a shot. That's how my career in data science started. I thought this would be just one-time gig. And after that, I would go back to quantitative finance and all. But the client project, which I took up, was so successful, they started referring me to a lot more other clients. And that's how data science became my career. So I like the reason why I stayed back in data science is the kind of flexibility you get in terms of work. So I'm not sure if you get this kind of a flexibility in other domains. So right now I work as an adjunct faculty on weekends. Saturdays I work at multiple universities where I teach master students. So my employer doesn't have a problem with me working for other organizations as well. So my current startup is in Web3. So I'm also a founding member of the startup. So there is clause that I can consult for any of the ML firms as long as they are not a direct competitor. So there's a lot of flexibility, and I also work remote. And so in terms of consulting opportunities, in terms of the diverse work opportunities you get your way, I think data science is phenomenal. And also the other thing, the second reason why I stuck to data science was I'm more passionate about solving making the autistic lives better. So AI has got a lot of use cases. So I work with a lot of neurologists and we're collecting a lot of data at this point of time. Hopefully in future, we'll be able to build a lot of tools and products which will make the autistic people's lives better. So these are some of the reasons why I stuck to data science, and the journey has been good so far. And looking forward to see what's in the future.
Thank you so much for sharing that story. I think there's some alignment between you and the work that Sarah's doing. Sarah, would you mind going next and telling us your story on how you got into data science?
Yeah, sure. So I kind of just fell into it a little bit. I was a long time ago, I was working in a neuroscience research lab, and I was kind of starting to realize that wasn't the path I wanted to be on. So I was kind of talking to one of my coworkers at the time who was sort of a mentor, and she was at that time kind of also like she was starting to shift into data science. And so I was talking with her, and I was kind of like, I'm thinking about doing a degree in computer science maybe, or, talking about what I was thinking about doing. And she brought it up to me that maybe I'd be interested in data science. And I was like, I don't really know what that is. So I kind of went on, I started my degree in computer science, and I kind of very quickly did shift into machine learning and kind of that focus towards data. So I guess she saw something maybe that I didn't see in myself at the time, but that was the kind of naturally what drew my interest. So I followed that thread. And then by the time I graduated, I got into a job where I was sort of doing a combination of machine learning and also neuroscience, where I was very much, my whole job was focused around just like using this neuroscience data with machine learning. And then, of course, I came into my current role, which is very much 100% a data scientist role, kind of in that very broad way. So yeah, it was kind of accidental, but cool path.
Thank you. What I love about those two shares is and when Usha mentioned upskilling, which is something that I think quite a lot of us are looking to get into data science. I myself am considering a pivot into data science. So some of those upskilling courses she mentioned, I'm sure I'll probably end up doing myself. And also what you're talking about, which is the important role that mentors play in sometimes helping us identify skills that we don't necessarily see ourselves, and they're like, hey, maybe you should try this, and then yeah, it's great. So thank you so much for that, Sarah.
Sure.
Mindy, would you like to share with us how you got into data science?
Sure. So I came from more of an environmental background, and it was heavy on data collection. So I was doing things like water quality and air emissions and general environmental trends. And it kind of slowly evolved in my brain, where I wanted to predict what the emissions would look like in like 10 years and 20 years, and what would optimization of resource use actually do for people in Trinidad, and what are the trends in things like asthma because of air pollution and noise pollution? How do we monitor these things? And I decided to go and do another degree in preparation for doing something more heavy in that area. And in doing that degree, I started building chatbots and dabbling with some NLP. And after some time, I graduated and I was looking for work. And I was also joining these different meetups online. And I joined a meetup with TT Labs, and they have like monthly presentations on whatever research that they're doing at the time. And I started engaging with it heavily because I was more curious than anything else of how these things work, and what data they were using, and how does feature selection really impact data later on. And I started talking to Professor Patrick Hussein, and everything else that came from me developing as a data scientist came through TT Labs. And then I started doing the FAIR project, and we got a National Geographic grant, and we sort of took a really hard look at agriculture and how AI could help agriculture on small islands. And I started just researching in that space, and that's what I've been doing since. Yeah.
I love that. I think the work that you guys are doing in agriculture is very well known here in the Caribbean. So congratulations on your National Geographic grant. That's amazing. And also, I do think that speaks to curiosity being something for us to pay attention to, like the thing that you think about the most. So the thing that preoccupies you the most. I had an art teacher tell me once, she was like, if you're thinking about drawing all the time, you're probably going to be an artist. So in your case, if you're thinking about data and solving these problems using data, it clearly was one of your callings. So amazing story, Mindy. And I don't want to miss anyone again. Sabiha, Sabiha Pennywise effect. Tell us your backstory.
So my backstory is a little bit different, but it aligns with I don't want to say the wrong name, but it aligns with most of the participants in terms of passion. So growing up, I always liked math. So if you ask me what I wanted to do, I would tell you something to do with math, right? That was me. And my first encounter with predictive modeling was in secondary school, interested me from a book called Digital Fortress by Dan Brown, where they spoke about this AI machine called Brainstorm that used to predict the environment based on certain variables. And I thought this was so interesting. Like it stuck with me. It really stuck with me, and it guided my career inherently. That it just took me on that path. So when I was starting with my career, I was doing my master's in statistics. So I was looking for a job that would align with what I'm doing. And I ended up at an insurance company as a research and marketing officer, where we were primarily responsible for supporting anything related to data, whether it's customer research, extracting data from the database to help them identify sales opportunities, those things like that. So that's why I started, along with my then manager sharing with me, the famous Harvard article, The Sexiest Job of the 21st Century, which is the data scientist. And that was it for me, because when I read that article, it basically, this is what I wanted to do, and I've been treading that path since. Maria, you're on mute.
I just want to make sure I didn't miss anyone this time. I think I got everyone. I've kind of organized you in my chats so that I don't miss anyone again. But moving on to our next question. So we want to know what technical and or soft skills do you think are most valuable in this field? And I think based on what you guys have just told us about your background, it's actually a great follow-up question. So let us start with Sarah. Sarah, would you mind sharing your thoughts on this?
Sure, yeah. With technical skills, I was thinking about that yesterday, and I actually had a hard time deciding like what is the most important. So I think a lot of it does kind of depend on like what flavor of data scientist you want to be. Because I know some people where like doing feature engineering is such a huge important part of what they do, and having that, whatever their domain area is, being able to really know how to do feature engineering well is like the biggest part of being successful. So I think that is a big deal, especially if you're in something that is a really domain specific type of data science. I think the other technical thing that at least has been really helpful to me has been understanding, just like kind of conceptually understanding statistics, like not necessarily even doing the actual math, but like learning those fundamental concepts and just kind of having them intuitively kind of in the back of my head. So I think technical wise, I think those are the big things. For me, I found it's not necessarily that helpful to like really learn like specific algorithms or specific things, or even specific tools like too much, because I always end up having to change my tools or my algorithms, but those concepts really help, I think. Soft skills wise, I think there's a lot. I think being able to communicate how whatever you're doing works, right? So those sort of technical communication skills are really, really valuable, because inevitably, if you want whatever you're building, whatever your machine learning model is, if you want it to work in the world and actually sort of do what you intend it to do, you have to be able to kind of explain it to people who don't understand data science. So I think that's a huge part of it. I think also, again, like with those interpersonal skills, if you are building a model or doing some sort of data science project around a domain that maybe you're not an expert in, you also do need to be able to work with domain experts and sort of distill their knowledge and like pull it into whatever you're developing. So I think really those communication skills are the ones that I would say are really, really important.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Would anyone like to add to that response on technical or soft skills that you think are the most valuable or maybe the most critical as you get into this field?
Maria, yeah, sure. So I totally agree with you, Sarah, because communication is key, especially getting people to use what you've done. And also adding to what you said, the ability to learn and adapt to different industries and different tools, because once you learn one tool, it evolves. So I think, just especially if you're now getting into the field and you're not 100% sure which industry you want to stick with, the adaptability and, learning the different industries and learning different tools is definitely important. And it's definitely some of the most important skills you learn.
Any other panelists have any more to share? Technical and soft skills is really good advice. Technical and soft skills is really good advice for our attendees, and of course, any future data scientists who might be watching this. So not tooting my own horn, but I do think that this is useful information. So if there's anything that you felt that was left out, please share with us.
I would just like to add a little digression from the topic. But see, a lot of times when I get invited to universities, there are a lot of people who ask me, I'm an MBA graduate, so I don't have strong coding skills. Can I be a data scientist? So data science offers a wide range of jobs. So there are a lot of developer advocates where, communication skills might be the key skills. There are a lot of customer facing data scientists, which might be a fancy name for business analysts who interact with the clients, find out the requirements and convey it to the technical team. So there are a lot of other roles in data science which need not require, or which doesn't require that strong coding skills. So there is something for, it's a very diverse field, and, there is something for everyone there. So go find that out. So this is just something which I would like to add.
Oh, I love that. I think that also makes it a little less intimidating, because it does seem like a very skill heavy, math loving career. And for those of us for whom that wasn't particularly like a strong passion in our younger years, it feels a little intimidating. So that was very helpful. Thank you so much, Usha. Anyone else from the panel? Otherwise, we'll move on to our next question. Okay. So we want to get into resources and mentors. And I think after this, I'm going to be handing over to Leticia regarding a more in-depth conversation on the industry. So can you identify some useful resources? I mean, I'm all about resources which positively impacted you in your career path. So whether it's person, a place, or some type of digital or physical resource, like what was something that helped you? And of course, as well, if there were any specific mentors who inspired you. I feel like Sarah already said this, but it would be good for us to know some of these tools that helped you along your path. So we can start with Sabiha.
Sure. So in terms of mentors, I had to go way back to when I was doing my master's. So the person who I would say was a mentor for me was Dr. Dialsing, because he really supported me, when I was doing my master's. He helped me, start doing my consulting with different persons. So he would help me. Like if he didn't have time for somebody, he would say, okay, can you teach them this? Can you work with them? So that helped me, to develop my competency a bit more. So I was really grateful to have him as a mentor. And in terms of resources, I tend to use LinkedIn just to keep up to date with trends, because there are a lot of thought leaders you could follow there. And in terms of, getting that subject knowledge, as Usha mentioned, Coursera, edX, Udemy. So like if you want to explore different industry and you don't have the subject knowledge, you could just go intro to psychology or intro to chemistry, and you just want to just get that subject knowledge to understand the data better. That's why I think you can get that. You could Google as well. And like in terms of coding, I would use like Stack Overflow. And what I really find helpful is, reaching out to your colleagues, having discussions with them, because that you might find out something you didn't think, because you're not in a bubble. We're not isolated. We have a network. I think that is very important as well, to reach out to your colleagues, have discussions with them. So that's what I do generally.
Mm-hmm. Love that. And I strongly advocate for all of those upskilling micro-credentials. I do think micro-credentials are playing a really big role in how people are changing and pivoting their careers in this climate. So thanks for mentioning that again. And also, I am also a huge advocate of LinkedIn as a resource. So thank you for that. Anyone else would like to share useful resources that you felt, resources or mentors that positively impacted you in your career path?
Yeah, in my career path so far, I'd have to say that Ms. Mohammed in DCIT, Ms. Sharida Mohammed in DCIT is an invaluable resource and mentor, and also Professor Patrick Hussein. He is the CFO of TT Labs, and he is a person who is really interested in a lot of different things, and he is really engaged in guiding you along learning and doing, as well as publishing papers and doing research in specific areas of computer science. And if you are interested in this area, feel free to reach out to TT Labs to learn more. There's a website, and you can engage with anybody, past and present, that will give you advice and help you develop as a data scientist. And we do some software engineering and that kind of stuff too. So we build software around our models, which is really a useful skill. So yeah, feel free to reach out to that. Yeah.
And definitely want to testify to the amazing work that's happening over at TT Lab. You guys are great. So happy that somebody's taken up the mantle on that, because it really needed to be done. Anyone else would like to share useful resources or mentors in their life?
I would like to jump in. I would echo what Mindy said, definitely, about Professor Patrick Hussein. I think he's provided invaluable guidance, not just to me, but so many of us. So I also work with TT Lab, and aside from just the content knowledge and providing technical guidance, he's been great with motivation as well. So he's encouraged me to volunteer. I sometimes had the issue of feeling like I'm still a beginner and I don't necessarily want to get involved in data science projects just yet because I'm not ready. And he's even, said to me, why haven't you volunteered for anything? Encouraged me. And I said, maybe I'm not ready. He said, no, of course you are. Like, get involved, get started. So aside from just content, knowledge, and guidance in that aspect, also the motivation.
Thank you. And I think I've met Dr. Hussein before, and I do think that's kind of the effect he has on people. So that's really amazing to hear he had such an important role in the development of these influencers, or you influencers, in data science. Anyone else would like to share?
The only last one I would add is that Towards Data Science blog is like my go-to. If I just want to start doing something really fast, I have a data set, I want to try something, it will just kind of tell you the logistics often what to do. So that, combined with a Kaggle data set, if you're just trying to learn something new, is at least for me, it's like the fastest way to get started.
That sounds like a really great tip. So the name of that website is what again?
Towards Data Science. It's a Medium blog. Yeah, it's usually just people will just post blog posts on there about here's how you do this in Python or something like that. So it's very, very useful to me.
Adding it to my reading list. Thank you so much. Sure. So I'm going to hand over now to Dr. Addison as she takes you into an in-depth discussion around your experience as women in data science. So Dr. Addison, take it away.
Yes, thank you so much. And I mean, you all really listen to all the different perspectives. It really has been quite inspiring for me as well. Just to piggyback off of the last point, I also have to say Professor Hussein, who is the head of the TT Lab, and for persons who join us internationally, you'll feel free to check the website lab.tt. A lot of the mentors in the Women in Data Science, Mindy and Mercedes, are part of the TT Lab. I have also worked with TT Lab as well. Professor Hussein is a huge inspiration. I would say, in fact, when I wanted to become an ambassador, I wrote to him and I said, this feels a bit intimidating. Do you think I'm capable? And he said, I support you 100%. And that actually really helped me, because I'll let you know, on a personal level, I never expected to be at this point, with this organization. So it really is, as you all said, having mentors in this space is very, very key. In addition to all the technical skills and everything that we need, you really do need that emotional support, to be able to move on. in the arena. So so Maria, thank you for giving them all that context and feedback. That has been really very, very fruitful and meaningful, I'm quite sure. So now we move more into some more personalized types of questions in terms of like, what do you like most and least? So each of you could probably just let me know like what's the best thing about the field, and then what's something that you don't really like about the field. Let's start off with Sokar. You want to jump in?
Well, yes. So yeah, I mean, as I said at the beginning, doing data science and machine learning is all about passion for myself. So I can say, I mean, actually, I like all the process leading to getting to my machine learning works. But the one I like the most is when my model is running. So when I'm sure that my model is running and at least I can see some result, I'm happy. So, just to say that, sometimes it's a long process that take you there. And, when you start seeing some result from your works, you feel like happy and then, proud of yourself. But, machine learning is that science. I used to say machine learning a lot because I more like do also machine learning, but, we can put everything together. So yes, it's a long process where you go through a lot of stuff. But what is really exciting about it is you can always see the use of what you're doing. You can really know that, okay, this is what I am doing and this is the meaning of what I'm doing. So this is really what excites me about it. So when I start seeing the result of my work, I'm really happy.
Sounds good. I mean, I totally agree with you there. You have to have those models running and of course get those meaningful insights. So I'm going to kind of just throw out now to somebody who wants to tell us what they least like. Maybe Mindy, you want to like give us an idea of what you least like about the field?
Sure. I think that often data is really limited or selectively available. There are certain things that I would like data on to do more research and understand these problems better, but sometimes there isn't any data collection going on around the problem, or people haven't really recognized it as something that they could search for trends in. And additionally, there are a few biases and limitations when you consider you coming up with an idea and you're not sure, where this idea can go in the long run. And there's no data to back it up or no data that can be found. So you go and you try to collect your own data, and that's also very limiting and time consuming also. So yeah, I think that's what I like the least about it, the availability of data. I just wish that there was more out there, more open source stuff out there.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, Mindy, and especially for persons in like the Caribbean, like ourselves, we tend to realize a lot of the data, it's either if it's collected, it's not in a usable format. Some of it is not collected or it's very sparse, so it's really a challenge. I mean, Sarah, I don't know if you want to jump in and let us know how it has been for you in that context, and what you least like, and of course what you most like as well.
Yeah, I think for what I least like, it's actually very related. I think data wrangling is what I was going to put. So just even if you have the data, right, it's like getting it in a usable form, organizing it, figuring out what to do with it even.
Yes.
That part of it, I think, is just very procedural and just can get frustrating.
Yes.
What I do like, though, like my favorite part is just the huge variety of problems you get to encounter, and like, just, I never get bored. There's always something new. There's always something different. And even just, hearing the stories of everyone else on the panel about like what they're doing with data science just makes me so excited to like be like, how are you doing that? What's going on there? So I think, it's that variety that's amazing to me.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I'm glad that you all share the same sentiments, because then you feel like, okay, well, at least we know there are other women out there who go through the same thing in terms of the data science and the actual data aspect of things. I wonder if Usha wants to add to that in terms of like anything else that you want to add based on how how you have felt about the field in terms of like what you most like or even what you least like. Yeah.
So, in terms of least liking, I would say data collection can be very difficult, especially planning out a data collection strategy. Because in my current startup, we were solving problems which are not solved before. So there's no reference papers, there's no research papers. We are designing the entire architecture. So data collection can be very tricky. And it can be very costly as well. It can become expensive based on the kind of architecture which you're designing and all that. So that was the most difficult thing which I've come across so far. And the second thing is I'm also a consultant at a lot of places. Most of the times I get projects which are, the models have failed at production or the models were not working properly. So can you optimize it or can you make it work? So the failure rate I see in production is very high. I would say 20 to 25% of the models make it to the production. So a lot of models fail there. So that can be very frustrating for people who have worked for a really long time. And in terms of the most liking, I would say, see, this field has a lot of opportunities. So it is very flexible. So there are a lot of remote working opportunities, and which is very good for me. Particularly, I would not take up an offer if it does not have remote working opportunities. So that is something which I really like, and the amount of diverse jobs which you can take up. So I'm working in academia, so I have that attachment to academia as well. I work with startups. I do consult for bigger firms, so I get a very diverse set of opportunities. So that gives me a lot of flavor. So I'm never tired of it. So if it's going to be very monotonous, in my previous job it was very monotonous, just one term, and especially in fintech, there's a lot of restrictions that your employer will not let you go speak at conferences without prior approval and all that. So I think there's no restrictions in this field, which is amazing. And so yeah, there are a lot of opportunities. That's what I would say.
No, I definitely agree. And I mean, those are a lot of the challenges that I'm glad to hear you say that from the end of where you work in Australia, because I feel like it's actually a really global problem in terms of, data collection and all of these things. And even with the age of AI, I think we still struggle with some of these issues. So I just want to throw to Sabiha and Mercedes, one each. Take either most like or least like, and let us know how you feel in terms of the discussion. Sabiha, you want to start?
Sure. So I would echo the sentiments of the team. The thing I love the most about this field is that, you always uncover something you didn't know before. The field is so vast, and you have a skill set that you can basically translate to different industries, because it's just about switching variables and getting that context. So I love the portable nature of it, and I just, learning things that you didn't know before. And the fact that data is black and white. So, your evidence will be concrete until you get other data to prove you otherwise. But yeah, so that's generally what I love.
I agree. And Mercedes, what about you? Something that you most like?
Sure. So similar to the others, I love that problem solving aspect. And I think we mentioned curiosity before, and I think what even led me into this, into research and into data science especially, was just having questions and being able to, look into the data, dig in further and find answers. I think is like a puzzle, and it's so much fun.
Yes, I agree. And I'm really happy to hear, and I'm hoping that the audience also feels inspired in terms of hearing your perspectives on these aspects, just to feel a little less overwhelmed, because there are challenges as much as there are benefits. So it's really nice to kind of open up that kind of conversation. I think we can move right along, Maria, to the next question. So in terms of, now, this is a question, I feel like it's a universal question for any field, but I think even more so with data science. Now, when I started in statistics before, the whole explosion of data science, I think I also, as a statistician, felt a little bit of sometimes intimidation, sometimes a lot of information overload with the amount of resources. And I think even more so now, as we mentioned, with all these amazing resources online. So I just want to throw out to you all, how do you feel and how do you deal rather with like information overload? And then of course, the most recent coin term about imposter syndrome. So you could take anyone you want. So I'm just going to kind of freestyle to, let's start back with Mercedes. How do you deal with that? Either one of those or both in the field?
Sure. So information overload was never really too much of something I struggled with. I think I've been able to manage, figuring out what I don't know and just honing in on those resources. But imposter syndrome, on the other hand, is definitely something that is very familiar to me, even before getting into data science. Just that mindset of thinking that everything needs to be perfect, that you need to know everything about your field before, doing anything or starting anything. I actually think that getting into data science helped me with that, because coming from my background, I had the statistical background, definitely from economics and psychology, but limited computer science experience. So I came in knowing that, okay, I already don't know everything and there will be a lot to learn. And working more within the field with different projects, I just realized that you have to almost adapt a growth mindset and enjoy learning and just accept that you're never going to know everything. Nobody knows everything. And just, enjoy the process of learning and enjoy the process of growing.
Oh, I like that you said that, especially when you said growth mindset. I feel like that is really something. And even I still struggle with dealing with perfectionism. And, you want to know enough, but then you could never know everything. So I think, Sarah, do you want to kind of, jump into the conversation and let us know how you feel?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, definitely like with imposter syndrome, I've had the same problems. What's been helpful to me actually is in my current job, just working with so many different data scientists. I go into all these different companies and I like work with their data scientists. I work with their ML kind of systems people. And what I've seen is that, none of these people are bad at their jobs. They're all smart. They're all good at it. And they all make mistakes. I see mistakes everywhere. And that's just the nature of the field. Like you're going to make some mistakes, and what makes you good is being able to recover from them, being able to catch them. And so that kind of made me realize, like, okay, all these people who have been doing this for years are all making some mistakes, and no one's doing this perfectly. You just do it the best way that you can. So I think that's really helped a lot, just seeing how other people work sometimes and realizing that no one's doing this all perfectly. We haven't really solved how to do it perfectly yet.
I like that you said that, because it actually brings into that context of just being very self-aware as well, and like having a level of emotional intelligence and understanding of how you feel in relation to other people. And I think a lot of people don't realize it's not only the technical aspect, but really just kind of tracking and tracing how you move along in the field. And that was a really great point to add there, Sarah. So I identify with that, because I also experienced that in teamwork as well, seeing where other people may make mistakes and then having to really be understanding about, yes, we don't know everything. Sabia, what about you? How do you feel about it?
So in terms of information overload, data science is vast. It could be a challenge, especially if you're starting out trying to figure out which area you want to go into. But I think, find your focus, find your passion. It's good to be aware of everything, of the different aspects, but you don't need to be an expert in everything. You focus on what you need to focus on and zone in on that. So I think, that is key, especially in this field, because you may want to be a data engineer and then jump into data science, or you may want to do everything. But I think, learn what you have a passion for and focus on that with getting, supplementary knowledge in terms of the other areas. So you're not in a vacuum, but you're not overwhelmed at the same time. And, I would agree with everyone else in terms of the imposter syndrome, because I deal with that, especially when you have to present to execs and stakeholders. You're always, wondering if they're going to think, I don't know what I'm saying. But you just have to keep in mind that your output is based on the data you have at hand, or, realize that as Sarah said, everybody's just trying to figure things out too. So it's not the be all and end all. So I think once you have that mindset, we're all just trying to figure things out, it makes life a lot easier.
Yes, yeah. And I agree. And you brought up an excellent point. I think what also happens, as I've seen, there are so many different terminologies for persons in this field, like the data analysts, the data scientists, the data engineers. And it's really important, as you said, to kind of hone in on which area that you most identify with in terms of your skills. And I would say that not only for data science, but in general. I think when you really sort of kind of have a bird's eye view of, okay, I'm really good at this, let me kind of go into this area and really pursue this part of it instead of thinking of it as everything in one. I think that's really helpful. So thank you for that point, Sabia. Usha, what about you? Anything that you have felt along the way in terms of the challenges?
Yeah, so for imposter syndrome, I think, I mean, there's a lot of underlying factors because of which you feel you're not enough and things like that. So it's important to address those factors as well. So what helped me really in life is, I think a few years back, around 6 to 7 years back, I had a mental breakdown. I was suffering from a lot of various issues. And then I started learning a lot about positive psychology, self-compassion, and all of this. So there was a journey towards learning all of it, and that changed my life. And I would say before those, the last 8 years and before that, I think are two phases of life. I'm a really different person. So understanding yourself better and learning a bit of positive psychology and all these things will definitely help you overcome imposter syndrome, because imposter syndrome is the cause for a lot of other underlying factors. So if you have to address that, then you have to address all those underlying issues as well. And with regards to information overload, in terms of industry hiring practices, I think a lot of people have already covered all the important points. Something additional which I would like to add is, see, in terms of industry hiring practice, the current trend, I think you see 80 to 85%, they hire for a very specific, if you see the job descriptions is very 80 to 85, I would say, not all. The job descriptions are very specific for one domain, like either it's NLP or either it is computer vision. So they're very specifically asking for a specific skill set. At least in your early stages of career, it is good that you focus on one skill and be extremely good at that. That will really help a lot. To get jobs quickly and things like that. So most of the companies, they're not looking for somebody who's skilled at audio data, skilled at video data, computer vision, NLP, everything. They're just looking for a specific skill set for solving a specific business problem. So focus on one skill and do that. In terms of courses and things like that, identify top 2 courses and just stick to that, because the same subject, even if you take 67 courses from different university, doesn't matter. Just 1 or 2 courses is more than sufficient. One is more than sufficient. So whatever theoretical knowledge you get out of these courses, can you apply that to a real world project? The recruiters are mostly looking for real world projects. So, just take one course which has the minimum theoretical knowledge which you require, and then start applying that knowledge to a real world project. Maybe do a lot of projects instead of doing a lot of courses. And I think this might be something which I would like to add on.
Wow, that is, I mean, I could talk all day about all the points that you mentioned. I'm really happy that you were open enough to mention about the mental aspect and the breakdown. I think it's something that a lot of us don't really touch on, especially with respect to mental health and how it's important in these types of fields. I too, a few years ago, had an extreme burnout in my field, which caused me to really sort of regroup. And as I mentioned to you all, as Usha mentioned, you have to get a sense of yourself now in terms of self-awareness and focus on what you are good at. And I think that is the key to not feeling like you aren't enough, and to really go towards building the skills. And you can't build roadie. So I would always say, and as all these amazing women are really trying to get through to the attendees and our audience, is that you have to take it one step at a time and build as you go along. It's sometimes, I would say in my personal experience, a non-linear process where it will be like up and down, so you don't have to take it as it comes and just take it one step at a time. Any problems on your end? I don't know if Maria is there. Maria, are you hearing? I don't know if you're on mute. I'll continue to share from my end. Let's move on to the next question. So advice. Now is the point where you all can jump in and give us any advice you all have for women and young girls in terms of the field. So let's start with Sokar. What advice do you have for women interested in data science in your community?
Yes, thank you, Leticia. I think actually my advice is, there is no difference with the men doing data science and the women doing data science. So, you know, as I used to say, intelligence does not have gender. So everyone can do data science. The only thing you need is, first of all, is being, you know, passionate about the field. And the second thing is get started. So when you get started, you will probably find your way. And, you know, and this comes to the, you know, the question before about information overlap and also. So just try to find your field, what you are interested on, focus on that. And the main thing that will complete your information or your knowledge is like the topic you work on or the project you work on. You know, every project may have recurrent information or recurrent knowledge, and then you will go for it. So you will become expert in your field. So don't try to be expert in data science, but try to be expert in the field you choose to be in. So I think that's my advice for everyone who wants to start with data science and machine learning in general.
Yes, I definitely agree. It really piggybacks off of the last question in terms of, yeah, just try to really focus on a specific field and then grow from there in terms of like the projects and networking and kind of getting more into that specific area. Sarah, do you want to add to that in terms of your advice? I would like to mention before Sarah begins that Sokar is from Senegal. So I'm kind of getting a context from everybody in their different communities, how it applies in a global context. So we move to Sarah, who's from the US. What kind of advice you'd give for women and girls in your community there, as to how, you know, you would see things going for them in terms of data science?
Yeah, I think like I guess I'll say kind of the same thing that I said. I think when I did the panel for sort of the global women in data science, yes. I told people to bring your whole self to data science, and I think that applies to people in the US. You know, it's a very competitive environment here in data science. Everyone's trying to get into it at the same time. So you're competing against a lot of people, and there is, I think, a lot of that sense of like imposter syndrome and not knowing enough. And so, yeah, what I think is really helpful is to bring, you know, whatever it is that makes you sort of different, that makes you maybe feel like you aren't included. That's usually the thing that kind of actually gives you some extra insight, right? It's something that about you that maybe you have some extra knowledge that's just different from other people. You know, even you know, you're coming from a different country, you're coming from the Caribbean, right? You're bringing in some like really specific knowledge that is going to empower you to be able to like really be good at data science in whatever area that is. So I'd say, yeah, bring your whole self to it and really, you know, capitalize on those skills that you have or that extra knowledge that you have.
Right. I agree with that. What about Mindy? How do you feel in terms of, you know, bringing that context, as Sarah said, to your whatever field you're in? How do you feel about that advice that you would give?
So I think what happened with me in particular when I did my degree, I saw people have a specific way or set of problem solving. And I think what advice I would give the young woman is your way of problem solving and your way of troubleshooting something is just as valid as everybody else's. Once you can solve the problem and you're getting the right result, that is the aim. It might not be like everybody else's, but you need to bring your own unique creativity and imagination to this field, because that is something that really defines you as a person, and it would define every solution that you come up with after. And it would make a big difference in the end. Yeah, so that's what I would say.
Very true. I like that you added that in terms of the creativity aspect and your unique flavor. I mean, we all have, we are all trailblazers. So I think, you know, it's really inspiring to let them know that they should bring that aspect into it. Usha, what about you in terms of your advice, especially in your communities, you know, what you have seen, how you would, you know, give women and young girls advice about this field?
Yeah, so one thing which I would like to, add on to what others said is, see, ability to handle rejections will be a key skill here. In data science and other fields also it applies. In data science particularly, why it is needed more is number of applications we get for just last year summer, we hired 12 interns. And so the number of applications we got were around 1,300, 1,600. So a lot of candidates were equally good, but our requirement was only 12. We had to turn on a lot of very good candidates as well. So sometimes you might be applying for jobs, a lot of them, and still not getting selected. And it doesn't mean you do not have the right kind of skills. There could be a lot of other factors as well. So don't give up. And persistently, continuously trying is very important. This is something which I would like to add on. And other skills is, see, another thing from women tech makers, I think Maria will be able to connect to this. So this WTM has one program called I Am Remarkable. So there, they say, when it's based on facts, it's not bragging. So that I'm remarkable, they say this is very true. So a lot of women I see, they do a lot of great work, but they don't share it out in social media because they feel shy, or there are a lot of other reasons or insecurities. They feel they don't want to share it in social media and all that. But come out, do a lot of sharing and networking through social media. I know a lot of people who got hired by just being active in social media. There are lots of start stories out there. So start being active in social media, start sharing all your accomplishments. And second thing in networking is a very, very key skill, very crucial for getting jobs in data science, particularly given the fact that all these jobs these days, most of them are remote. And these are three things which I would like to add on to what others have said.
Oh, well, it's funny that you mentioned the I Am Remarkable, because Maria, I don't know if you're laughing in the background, Maria actually had us do the I Am Remarkable training. And it was interesting, as you said, because I felt so strange. For those of you who don't know about the I Am Remarkable program, it's, as Usha said, to build a brand and to really see yourself as building a brand and to see yourself in a different light. And I was very astounded because I had to sit there and think about my, what are my strengths and how I market myself to people. And it was a really eye-opening experience. I felt uncomfortable thinking about how to market myself to people. So I would highly recommend it. If anybody could drop the link in the chat for the audience. It has a trainer. And as Usha said, you have to really understand. And honestly, not only for women, but for anybody in the field, I think it's really an interesting experience to see how you perceive yourself. It's really eye-opening. So thank you for that, Usha. I really appreciate you mentioning that. So I think, did I miss someone? Did I miss Mercedes and Sabiha? Yes. Mercedes, would you want to come in and kind of follow up on what the others have said on the advice for young women and girls? I don't know if we're hearing.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah? Okay, yeah.
Are you hearing me now? Okay, yeah.
Yes, I am.
I would definitely echo what everyone else has said and add that, I, for one, can testify that it does feel intimidating trying to get into data science sometimes, but do it anyway. Push through that whether it be imposter syndrome or feeling intimidated, and do it anyway, because you do have something valuable to add.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. And Sibia, what about you? Any last words on this?
Sure. So yeah, I agree with everyone here. Don't be intimidated, and just we're all trying to figure things out. It's an evolving field, so be ready to be a lifelong learner. That's something that I think is very important, because it's an evolving field. You'll always be learning something new, and enjoy the path. Because it's very interesting field, and I enjoy it thoroughly. So you always learn something new every day.
Right. And I like that you said lifelong learner. And I think that is something that you never stop learning. And because of that, it will open you up to feel less overwhelmed that I have to know everything in one shot. We'll continue to learn as we go along. And to be very honest, I will tell you all, from the age of when I did my master's, and Sabia could probably relate too, when we did masters in statistics up to this point, the information has gotten so vast and the world has moved so fast in terms of this field and what you could do with that sort of knowledge in statistics and AI and machine learning. It's really, the digital revolution is really going at top speed. So to kind of end off the session, now I just added this bonus question. So this is for anyone who wants to jump in from their field, any of the ladies on the panel. In terms of the idea of embracing equity, how do you feel about the gender equity in your field in terms of like the ratio of men to women? Is it imbalanced? Are there more men than women, or do you see it actually becoming more of a gender parity there, where you actually seeing it leveling off. Anybody wants to start off or jump in, or I could probably throw it out to Sarah. In your organization at Arthur AI, how does it look currently, or any other organizations you're accustomed to working with?
Yeah, I think so in my current company in Arthur AI, there's been kind of a concerted effort made to kind of balance out our machine learning team to be somewhat gender balanced. You know, we're at least close to being 50-50 at this point. So I think that has helped a lot. It has not been that way in previous places I've worked. So that's been really great. And it does really help a lot to have those female peers that you can bounce ideas off of and kind of just talk with. You know, there's still ways that I think things could be better, right? I think you do notice even when you're balanced gender-wise, you notice that like some people are louder than others. Some people's voices maybe just get heard a little bit more. So I think there is definitely still an element of that, but also, you know, having those female peers to kind of talk with and even like acknowledge those things happening with does help a lot.
Yes, yes. No, that is true. That is true. I'm glad that you mentioned those things, you know, and it's really nice to see that there's a shift in terms of, you know, in terms of, especially in a field like this, where we are women in STEM fields. And, you know, I know that's a very large conversation now about if we want to move to gender equality, we should be more equitable. So I'm glad that you made those points, Sarah. Anybody wants to go on what Sarah said in terms of the gender equity in your field?
No, I definitely think there's a skew in my field. There are about 3 women on my team and a lot more men. Yes. But I think for the push towards innovation and technology, for it to really be truly beneficial to society, it really needs to have that integration with both, you know, the perspective and experiences of men and women. And I think that it is invaluable to digitalization to bring the unique ideas of men and women together and how they approach problem solving in particular. And this would really help in the advancements in technologies being equitable and beneficial to all members of society. So yeah, overall, I think that it is an issue, but it is slowly becoming equalized in some form or fashion.
And at least, well, Mindy would speak, I would say Mindy could speak from like the Trinidad context in terms of like us in the region here. Maybe we could hear from Sukar in terms of Africa and those regions. How do you see the gender equity in your space?
Well, yes, actually in my community, there are very few women in the field of data science and machine learning. So I think we have a long way to go to get to gender equality or gender equity in the field of data science. But, you know, I think this last year also we start having more women or ladies getting into the field of data science. And I think events like, you know, this one that you guys organize should be something maybe we need to have more in our community also to, inspire more women in the field to get, because some of them are just scared of starting. So, you know, and then they need to be more motivation to get to the field of data science. Yeah, but actually we have a long way to go for gender equality.
Agreed. And I'm glad to hear you say that. I mean, it's really nice to hear what happens in the global context. I mean, we hear these statistics from, you know, the organizations, the World Bank and all these places, but to hear it from your perspective is really, it's really nice to know that at least you are aware of it, and being in this kind of space really helps. I mean, I'm glad to have women in data science from all over the world to kind of come together and really kind of talk about the issues in their community. I mean, even Usha, I mean, on your side, in terms of Australia, how does it look, the spectrum look in terms of embracing equity and, you know, the gender equity in your field?
Yeah, so what I've observed is, since a lot of them have said some positive things, I'll add some negative, negative situations which I've heard recently from some of my friends. See, a lot of women in data science, they don't get promoted, and there's a lot of aggressions. A lot of my friends have been like struggling for promotion, and they've not been promoted for 3 years, and so they had to leave the company. And the other person, she's not getting promoted, but she has a lot of family commitments, so she's not, in spite of injustice she's facing, she still has to put up with it. I think this is not very specific to data science as well, but these stories are from data science, women who are in data science. These kind of situations happens in other women in product and women in tech as well. So there are a lot of psychological factors which influence this. And if you take one of the companies, they're the top, top companies in terms of diversity, advocacy, and all that. So a lot of companies don't walk the talk. They advocate and promote themselves as a diversity and inclusion technique, but what actually happens is stories like this: women don't get promoted for 3 years, they're given excuses. Each time she is accomplishing that excuse, she's continuously turned down, and she gets frustrated at a point and leaves the company. And so a lot of such issues exist. I think we need to address that. So this is something which I would like to leave open-ended.
Yes. No, agreed. I mean, it's still a continuing conversation, and it's nice that we have these types of forums to actually open up about it and really find solutions. I mean, it will still be a work in progress, but I can say from my context at the university, I do feel like there are a lot of women, a lot of girls and females actually entering the space, wanting to pursue programs in not only data science, but STEM. So it's really, it makes me happy because I'm seeing a shift happening now where the girls are somewhat overtaking the arena, let's just say. So maybe in a few years, we will see how that trend goes. So ladies, this has been a really, really insightful discussion. And at this point, I just want to ask, well, I'll stop sharing because I actually want to open the floor now for persons who would like to just kind of give us any sort of questions, network with the speakers, ask them about their field, about 10 to 15 minutes to do so. So anybody wants to jump in the chat, or you can feel free to put on your mic and ask our speakers any questions or give them any comments. I already seen one in the chat here. Aidan is saying, what is the most interesting thing that you're allowed to talk about that you have discovered through data analysis? Aidan, do you want this question to be specific to someone or just in general? So we could probably, anyone. Okay, so anybody wants to take that question? What is the most interesting thing that you're allowed to talk about that you discovered through data analysis? Maybe in one of your projects at work, anything interesting in terms of your field? Sarah, anything that you can think of?
Yeah, I'm thinking back. Yeah, I think, in a previous job, I was doing some like kind of crazy stuff where we were recording from brains, right? So we had all these electrodes on people's heads and we were recording from their brains and trying to like map that to sort of their mental state. It was like a really, really hard thing to do. And my job was to develop a machine learning model, right? To try to figure out how that, basically do that mapping, right? So I did like an intense amount of research. I was reading just tons of papers about like, how do you even approach this problem? Because I was getting stuck everywhere. And kind of what I finally landed on, this data comes in as time series. It's a signal data, and nothing was working with it. What I finally landed on was like the best way to approach that problem. At least the thing that worked best for me was to treat that brain data, that signal data, as an image and actually use convolutional neural networks to interpret those things and try to translate that into brain states. So it sounds kind of crazy, but yeah, that was the thing that kind of blew me away, that like you can treat data in different ways. You can treat it as a time series, you can treat it as an image, you can treat it as kind of like a sequence. And depending on how you treat it, different things work. And this time images worked.
I like that you said that. I mean, that shows a lot of creativity, especially like when we were talking about, as Minnie mentioned, the creative aspect. That was really, really cool, Sarah. Anybody else wants to jump in? on that. What was the most interesting thing that you could talk about from your job? Any projects that you did? I don't know if I want to throw this to Usha. Anything that you had seen over the years that you want to mention? That you can mention, sorry. I know sometimes data is, you can't say certain things. Usha, what about you? Or anyone else? Yeah.
Interesting thing. I think whatever Sarah said, I think, yeah, we have solved a lot of Kaggle competitions, especially in audio data, bird cliff identifying. I developed this bioacoustic sound detector. So what this bioacoustic sound detector does is, so if you see any of the forest and all these regions, you can just go and embed this bioacoustic sound detector, and it will listen to the voices of birds, frogs, and all of it. You will be able to monitor all these wild animals out there. And if you're not able to hear a particular species of bird or a particular wildlife species, and then, the environmentalists can get to know that that particular species is slowly getting extinct. And so they can come over and start doing some action out of it. So this is a research which is done by Cornell Lab of Ornithology. There is Rainforest, another research organizations, which is RFX, which also deals with it. So I developed this bioacoustic sound detector project, which was a part of ML in Action series, which was organized by Google competition. I think it was one of the winners of this competition. You can Google about it and check that out. So the problem statements like this, which is solving real world problems, monitoring biodiversity in wildlife, because when you take huge forests like Amazon forest, the amount of forest area is huge, and it's very unsafe for humans to manually go there and monitor all the bird species. So machine learning can play a huge role and help us solving these complex problems. Yeah, this is something which I found very interesting.
Oh, that's nice. And I like that you mentioned the biodiversity. I'm recently teaching a course that had to teach persons biodiversity using R. So I had to teach them the statistical aspect. And I'm now seeing how multidimensional, multidisciplinary everything is. So it's nice to see how everything overlaps in the different fields. So thank you for that, Usha. Let me see. Oh, so this is a question for our data scientists from Trinidad. Now, it's a bit of a loaded question. So let me see if I can get all of it out to you. So specifically for those working in Trinidad, how can entry-level persons with no experience become attractive to employers? And they Antonia asked about the skills you would recommend to sharpen and the certifications from the various platforms online that would hold merit. So I don't know if Mindy, you want to touch on that?
Yeah, sure. So I think I only graduated 2 years ago. I think what really made the difference was participating in projects or having ideas to do research. And what I mean by that is, like, you just touched on biodiversity, and I think I recently saw this Kaggle data set come out with the birds, and like doing something like that and then finding a unique way to solve the problem and then doing some research in that area would then make you look very attractive to employers. When I spoke to the person that employed me at Digicel, she said, yeah, it was your innovation and how you came up with research topics that really made me want to hire you, because that is kind of a lot of what I do right now. So I couldn't answer the previous question because all I could think is, oh no, all of these things I can't talk about. But it is you having your unique perspective and your unique passion in an area and then building a project around it. Being able to showcase that project really makes you attractive to most employers. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. And to add to that, I mean, Mindy saying she just graduated. Mindy has 2 degrees, right, in computer science and environmental. She's very impressive. So, I mean, also the Coursera, and I think Usha and a few of our other speakers mentioned some of these certificate courses on Coursera and edX. I also did some of those certifications. The edX, there was a Microsoft Professional Certificate in Data Science a few years ago. I think they revamped it now. So you can see there's a different version of that there. Coursera has a lot of great courses as well. So you're in good hands with whatever platform. I would add to what Mindy mentioned. I think we also have another question. We have a comment. Ray has mentioned this, a really, really great comment to the team of ladies. She said, I'd like to take the time to say great discussion, ladies, extremely motivating. Thank you for sharing your experiences and insights. While data science does sound intimidating, you really just need to believe in yourself and foster that creativity and curiosity. So she wants you all to continue blazing the trail. So that's really, really nice of you, Ray. Thank you for that. So Jessica, I like your question because I always felt I felt a bit of this in when I was also coming into the field. She said, as a student, should I focus more on a field that I'm interested in? And she says real estate in brackets, or a field that's more in demand. So does anybody want, I think Sarah looks like she wants to jump in on this one. How do you feel about that? I know you made a switch in fields.
No, my faces are more like that's a tough question. I feel like I've struggled with that too. Yeah, because I kind of initially like followed my interest in neuroscience. It was just very much a field that I was interested in, and it has sort of become more in demand, I will say. So I think sometimes there is that happens where you're interested in something and that kind of grows in demand, and that I think that will generally be the case in a lot of fields, that data science is just becoming part of everything. Yeah. So I think it's a really hard question, and you do have to be a little bit realistic where you want to like make sure that you will end up being able to find a job that works for you. But also, like, if you're going for something that is in demand and it just you can't keep yourself interested in it, you're not going to be as successful. So I do think it's worth focusing on something that you can at least be excited about and are motivated to work on. Yeah. So I hope that helps. That's not really a complete answer, but
no, that's helpful. Any other ladies want to jump in? Sokar, what about you? What do you feel about, like, as a first student? And I don't think Sokar mentioned this. She is really an outreach in Senegal, in her community. She does a lot of outreach with secondary schools, and she does really great work. Sokar and I connected on LinkedIn, and then we used to have these conversations about that. So Sokar, in terms of like students, what would you say in terms of like focusing on a field that you're interested in, specifically that you have a passion for, or looking for something more in demand?
Well, yeah, thank you, Leticia, for that. I mean, I think, yeah, it's nice to work on what you like. I really like working on what I'm interested on. But then, what is interesting also in data science is it's always possible to make a link between what you're interested on and what is on demand. I think there is always this possibility to make a link between that. So, I think it's important to try to find a balance between what you like and what is on demand. But also don't just look at also what is actually on demand, but try to see also in the future, because there are actually some fields in data science that are not actually very well developed, but you know that they are the future of data science and machine learning. So I think what I will advise is try to force, balance between what you like and what is actually in demand. And then also don't forget to, try to take account to the future. So I think it's always possible to make a link between the two.
That's true. That's true. I agree. And I hope that helps Jessica in terms of all these ideas. Anybody else wants to give Jessica some more advice on it? Any other ladies? Sabia, what about you?
Sure. So I agree with Sarah and Sokar, find that balance, because you don't want to get stuck in a field that you hate all the demand. And as Sokar mentioned, data science is something you can use in any industry. So if you're still interested in real estate, maybe you want to focus on data science within real estate. If it's something you're passionate about, because you develop tools that you can take into any industry. And I think that's important for me, especially right now. I'm trying to find that industry that I like, but I know my skills are portable. So it's about finding your passion and being able to adapt to it as well. So that's what I would say.
Agreed. I mean, these three ladies really made excellent points, and I would also say the same advice. I'm an anything is possible woman right now, so I think you can actually forge your path in terms of like actually having a space within what you like and align it to the demand as well. Right, so we have a few, okay, so we have a couple other questions now. Kirsten is asking, are there healthcare, so let me throw this out to the Trinidad data scientists, are there healthcare related opportunities locally? And I'll have some of the international ones tell us about in your space. What sorts of healthcare related opportunities in AI data science? Anything?
I can speak to what I've seen currently within Trinidad. You'll see like a lot of biostatistics positions, so a lot of biostatistician positions, primarily with the regional health authorities or with the Women's Health Directorate. So you generally find more biostatistics roles as opposed to AI and ML. But I think that's a function of how the government classifies jobs. So you just have to focus on the job description and innovate in the position. So you can find things like that available, but it's very limited and it's very hard to find sometimes. But there are a few opportunities for healthcare.
Right. And even
I just wanted to contribute for a second regarding there's been a lot of gender-based violence data opportunities recently with people looking to use AI and ML to help solve that problem in their communities. So I did notice that there's an increase in data opportunities within the mental health field, which is kind of the field that, Dr. Addison knows, the field that we're in. Yes. So it definitely seems to me, if you're looking at health, there might be a lot more avenues with regards to mental health versus maybe some of the bio data that's coming from the health fields like the RHAs, etc. And the Ministry of Health is one of our partners, so we're actually very connected to that data availability. So just wanted to put that in there.
Yes, Maria is our expert in terms of that in the local space. So feel free to reach out to her as well on it. Usha, what about you? So in Australia, is there anything you want to add just to give an international context to the question about the healthcare opportunities in AI? Any of that you know of?
Yeah, so healthcare, there's a lot of use cases in both in NLP and in computer vision, and sometimes even in tablet data. If you take even in women in data science, one of the previous 2 years back, it was, you'll have to figure out using the ICU data, you'll have to figure out if a particular patient has got diabetes or not. So these kind of, classification of diseases, onset of diseases, and all these problem statements are, a lot more in production right now. They're not POCs, they're already productionized by a lot of eye care hospitals. So detection of glaucoma and, classifying whether a person has got melanoma or not, a particular lesion is melanoma or not. These are all computer vision problem statements. I think there are a lot of research organizations out there quite actively collecting the data as well, because data collection is used to be a very difficult process. So there are a lot of organizations which are coming out as a not-for-profit, and the Radiological Society of North America. There is SIIM. So these are a lot of research organizations who have open sourced their data. So if you are interested in healthcare, if you're not getting an internship or job, but that is your passion or interest, you can go to these open source data sets, start practicing as. And even for autism, early detection of autism using a BIDE data set is another use case. This is again computer vision problem statement. So again, healthcare as well in NLP, if you see, there are again a lot of use cases in NLP as well. Most of the hospital records, they want to digitize it. They want to find a quick insights into 360-degree view of the patients. And the data of every patient is, there is diverse set of data types which is involved. Like, you have MRI scans, you have prescriptions, you have tablet data, audio data, video, different kinds of data linking to a single patient. So there are a lot of NLP-based use cases unifying 360-degree view of a single patient. There are a lot of startups which are coming out in this field. So I think healthcare is one of the top, domains.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is really great information. I mean, from everything that, Usha is making me feel like there's a research cluster forming, that we could do more. Maria has a question for you.
Not only because it deeply connects to the work that we're doing in mental health, but I was wondering, what solutions have you come up with when it comes to a lack of availability of data? I know one of the tools that we've been trying to promote is people using more Google Analytics on their web assets, but I don't know what other suggestions you might have, because we really would like to fill some of the gaps in data when it comes to the availability here in Trinidad and Tobago and the region. So would love to hear your feedback on that.
You want to throw it out to someone?
Everybody. I'm throwing it out. I'm throwing it out to everybody because I feel like it's a really big problem, actually, that especially when you have to like create policies around these things. And you know, we're kind of connected to some of the policy making as well now. So it's clear that this lack of data is a really big issue. And of course, research projects have like a long timeline sometimes. So I didn't know if there were like other solutions that could be implemented. If there aren't, that's okay. If there's no shorts or shorter term solutions that might help in the absence of data.
I mean, I could probably add from my context of some of the projects I worked on with respect to climate impacts in the region. One of the projects we did, which was into the OECS region, and we got very sparse data sets in terms of the natural disasters that were occurring. Sometimes, I mean, I know it's not a universal thing to do, but in certain cases where the data is sparse, you would have to do, I mean, from the context of the statistical aspects, certain imputation methods to kind of, you know, kind of have an idea of how the data could look. These kind of estimation methods, I mean, it's not always foolproof in terms of, you know, the real life data, but I always say start somewhere. And I would say, even from my own experience in my own job, if it's a bit sparse, you could start somewhere with some estimation techniques of what those data points sort of look like and get it just as a base model of how the. And I think as you go along, as Maria, as you brought up the data availability, it's not only the availability of the data, it's also the usability of the data, being able to actually get permissions. Because I know in the US and in other countries, there are a lot of open source data sets. We still on the trend here, we're trying to get to have more open source data sets in the Caribbean. So I think it's key to be able to find ways of actually still getting insights and then saying, well, we could build on this and build larger models eventually. Start somewhere with it and give some insight as to what it could give. At least that's my perspective. Anybody else wants to add to that in terms of like data availability when it's very sparse? You know, how do you handle things like that when you want to do a project, let's say?
I can add some ideas. Yes. I've worked in a scenario where I had sparse data sets, yes. And it is really tough. I feel like you have to basically make a decision about whether you want to try to like go really crazy and build something really complicated, you know, using like semi-supervised learning or something like that, or you just scale it down and see if there are ways that you can do feature engineering and make a simpler model that can actually work with less data.
Yes.
And that really just depends on like what your scenario is. I mean, there's also like synthetic data and data augmentation methods. I've found that those work well for like image domains or like certain domains, but like not necessarily as well if you're working in something very specific, which was my situation. But sometimes just scaling down, sometimes making a simpler model can be good enough, you know, depending on like what the use case is and what you actually need it to do.
Yeah. No, and I agree. And Sarah, funny you mentioned that point, because when I teach graduate students, especially in terms of statistical methods and research projects, my first comment is, please do not try to be fancy if you don't need to be. You know, start small and then build up. Because I think the thought that we have is, I need to do something that looks really great for this to look important. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I'm always like, see where, okay, I started with this linear regression. Could I use some other sort of classification modeling to build? So I'm glad that you made that point. Anybody else wants to add to what Sarah said? I mean, this is really a continuing conversation about availability of data in different regions. So it's really important. I'm seeing if there's any other questions in the chat also. I think Aidan Sabia had also responded to your question, and you had a question for specifically on her field. Anybody else wants to take, giving you all a few minutes. So I think we have about a minute again in terms of any questions for our panelists specifically. Going once, going twice. Anything, anyone? I mean, I would just like to say, especially from what I've heard you all say in this session, it really shows there are so many research projects, hybrid fields. I mean, Usha mentioned the autism. I mean, Sarah, you still have that neuroscience background. We have Mercedes in education. We have Mindy in agriculture. Sabia is in the business intelligence. We have Sokar the NLP. You know, there's so many. It's so great to have so many women in all these different areas in data science. And we could build something really great, and it's very happy. It makes me very happy to have had this conversation here with you all. Anybody has any burning questions for speakers? Do remember that all our speakers are listed on the website, and their LinkedIn profiles are there as well. So if you all want to connect with them as well, you could feel free to do so, or even reach out to us via email with ttgroup@gmail.com. Maybe someone could drop it in the chat, and we could always get you all connected with the speakers. So I mean, at this point, if no one has any other questions, we just have one more item on the agenda, and I think some of them are waiting for me to mention this. So let me share my screen and tell you all about our leaderboard for the Datathon competition. So, right, so we just went through our networking session. And remember, we had the Datathon challenge, which ran from January 4th to March 1st, recently completed. And we had the Stanford conference was actually streamed live. It was on the International Women's Day on March 8th. And they announced the leaderboard results for the global challenge. So in terms of the top 5 teams, now over 100 countries participated, more than 25,000 entries, and more than 750 teams. And of course, you can also go on the global WiDS page, the conference page, to check out the leaderboard itself on Kaggle. This competition was hosted on Kaggle. So these were the 5 teams here on the global leaderboard. They came from the USA as first place, Mongolia was second, Tunisia was third, Russia was fourth. We have persons from Jordan in 5th place, and then we had undergrads and high schooler teams. So really, really nice to see that. So in terms of our local teams, our local leaderboard, I am very, very pleased and happy to have had a number of persons. We had 23 participants in the local space in Trinidad and Tobago. I think we had a couple from abroad as well who put into our teams, and these were their names. So we'll have a social media graphic posted on Monday with their names and you know, in terms of their teams, etc. Just to give you a gist of the fancy names they had, in first place, we had the Panelists, right? So they are first place in our local leaderboard. They were 6th place, 66. They broke the top 100 in the global leaderboard. Then we had Data Buddies. They were in 2nd place, and they placed on 189. And then, of course, you see in 3rd place, we had thermosensors. They had really fancy names. I told them, go fancy with the names. So globally, they were at 348. Then we had Data Jedis. Just to mention, we had Mindy and Mercedes. Mercedes was the mentor for the thermosensors. Mindy was the mentor for the Data Jedis. And they were in 4th place at 496. Then we had SADR, Shannon Ray, our mentor liaison, her team as well. Shannon Ray also doubled up for the 1st place team as a mentor. And you could see all the different, I was really happy to see that they placed in like the different percentiles in the leaderboard. And then we had Operation Cold Brew, and they were at place 655. So I would just like to invite, so let me, before I give you all the invitation to come on and speak, the Panelists team, which came in 1st place, they were a team of full female team, because we had 23 participants, and about 20 of them were male and 23 were female, because the teams could have both men and women. And this was a full female team. And I will invite Gayatri, Lala. She really worked together very well with these girls. I was tracking their performance in this competition. They were really going hard at it. So Gayatri, I don't know if you're on in the chat and if you would like to give a few words about your experience in the competition and how do you feel to win the 1st place in our leaderboard?
I would say that when I joined the Datathon, I joined with no expectations. I did not think that we had a local leaderboard. I
I had no expectations for the competition. I just joined so that I can get some real world experience to take back to my field, which is aviation, and to take back to my dissertation, right? So I would say the competition was quite unique, and at times it was quite intimidating. I would say that the very first group meeting that we had, that was sort of intimidating because, you know, you hear a lot of persons with experience talk about all these different techniques, what they're using, what they're not using. And you know, you have experience, but you don't have that level of experience with coding and application development and things like that. So that was a little bit intimidating, but for those who know me personally know that I don't back down from challenges. I actually embrace it, and I would have teamed up with Ariane and Kirsten, and together we would have really used our own background and applied it to the competition. So whilst people were talking about, you know, certain methods and things like that, in our background, we know that before you can start any type of competition, you have to do a literature review, you have to get various methods, you have to see what works, what doesn't work. And from there, we were able to develop our own solution. And we were actually happy to see that the first place winner employed almost the same technique as us. I think that the only difference with us and them was that their weighted the weights that they placed on their models were slightly different, and their feature selection was slightly different, but exactly mostly what we would have done, they would have done as well. So that was pretty good to see. And I also want to point out my team again. It wasn't easy at all for us. You know, the computer restrictions and the limited amount of submissions we had. We actually had much more submissions to make, but then the morning that the competition ended, we were really a little sad that we did not get to really make more submissions, because we had now found a data set that was giving us the answers that we wanted. So, but all in all, it was a pretty good experience, very unique. And I did not take the traditional route as many persons on here. I took the route of using Coursera to get to do some Stanford courses in January. And this competition really solidified the fact that you don't necessarily have to go through a formal process to get the knowledge that you need for data science.
Yes.
So, and I would say that my team, myself, Ariane, and Kirsten, we are actually very proud of our achievement, because none of us had much experience. I think most of us, all three of us, actually had probably about a month or a couple months experience in the data science realm, specifically with programming and coding.
Yeah.
So that was my experience. I'm not sure if Ariane and Kristen would have their own experience, but that was my experience with the competition.
Thank you so much, Gayatri, for that. Any quick words from Ariane or Kristen, if you all are in the chat, in the room? And any of you all,
Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so just to go off on what Gayatri was saying as well, data science as a whole was very new to me. So coming into this competition, I had no experience. Even when I signed up for the first technical session, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to compete, but as intimidating as it was, I decided anyways, and I'm so glad I did. So Shannon and Letitia, like, you guys made me feel so comfortable after that first meeting. So I got some confidence, like, okay, I could do this. And Gayatri and Kirsten were the best teammates I could have asked for. Like, we had this feeling like, okay, we're in this together. Let's figure this out. But it was a great experience overall, because I learned a lot, and that was the main objective for the entire preceding competition. So
really, really great to hear that, Ariane. And is Kirsten in the room as well? Does she want to say a few words?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was a wonderful experience for me as well. I'm actually in the MSc in Data Science program. I just recently started, but I'm probably the class's underdog, the person who did not have prior coding experience. So I joined hoping to get confidence with my programming skills because it has been a challenge for me so far. And I really do appreciate my teammates as well as all of the help that was provided by WiDS. So yeah.
Oh, very good, very good. I mean, we're really, really happy to hear that. And I mean, just for everybody to get the context of, you do have to, as we've said in the panel, don't know everything to be able to join and enter a competition like this. It really is your mindset about, if you want to go into the field and you want to try something, as I said, anything is possible. You have all the resources and we always here to assist you. And you have amazing data scientists, like the female data scientists we have on the panel who are there for inspiration and support. So I'm very, very proud of this team. Shannon Ray was their mentor, but I think she had to step out of the room. So I would just like to say that we also thank our sponsors, TT-NIC, which is also headed by Professor Hussein. He was able to donate $2,000 US in cash prizes for the top 3 teams. And all of our teams are getting certificates of participation as well as the WiDS TNT jerseys. So I'm very, very proud of you all. It makes me I feel like a proud parent right now. So, so at this point, I would just like to say, I know we are going over a little bit over time, but I would just like to thank everyone. This is my vote of thanks, and then I'll allow the panelists to give, their last final words on the floor. I really, really want to thank the panelists. I mean, we could not have had this session without you all. You all really took your time out to join us today, and I'm very appreciative of it. I feel very inspired by the conversation. Moderators, of course, Maria. I mean, Maria is amazing. I am so happy that she agreed to be a co-moderator today and really, integrate her knowledge and expertise with you all. And I really hope that we have some collaborations coming in terms of all of us and what we had spoken about today. The team mentors for the Women in Data Science Trinidad team, I mean, mentors, some of them are here, Mindy, Mercedes, we had Nicholas as well, Shankar, Shannon Ray, and of course, Rihanna is our task manager. She has also been on the team. And of course, all the participants, do remember, I will duly reward you with your social media glory of, where all of you all had placed. I really thank you all for being part of this experience and allowing us to give you that inspiration to go forward and to move ahead. Attendees, thank you for being part of this experience with us. And of course, WiDS Worldwide for giving us the tools and resources to be able to do, to push forward in the Datathon itself. I think this is the first time Trinidad really pushed forward in this type of way, and I'm very happy to kind of push us more into the map, so to speak. And of course, our sponsors, TT Lab, TT-NIC, and PricewaterhouseCoopers Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago. Really, really want to thank. I think someone wants to say something. Let me stop sharing at this point. Yes, so I can let Maria jump in. Yes.
I actually pretty sure I'm speaking on behalf of everyone here that we want to celebrate you, Leticia, for taking up this mantle. The advancement of data science in the Caribbean is really important. I know that there are 1 or 2 others, as I mentioned earlier, like Ray and Sarah, who are also pushing this data science agenda forward because it's so important. With the lack of data in the Caribbean, it's holding us back. So I hope that there's going to be 100 more data scientists next year. I think there should be 100 more user experience designers. So these industry-focused networking groups, I feel, really play a big role in the advancement of the technology in the community. So you did an amazing job. I'm so impressed by how you took on this. So I just want to give you my cheerleading, and I think that we're all on this journey with you as long as you want us.
Of course. And I couldn't do this without you all. And then, of course, the panelists, I want to just give you all the last context following Maria's amazing words as to, any sort of advice moving forward, anything that you all want to jump in and say before we end off.
I'm just really impressed by these teams coming in, participating in the Datathon with starting pretty fresh to data science. When I was brand new to it, I was not brave enough to do that. So yeah, kudos guys. That's awesome that you guys did that and did so well.
Yeah, definitely. Usha, what about you? Anything? Last words?
Yeah, I would say you're doing the great work. So I've personally organized a lot of events and conferences. It's not easy to put across so many events. And I've been collaborating with other organizations for WiDS workshops. But I would say WiDS Trinidad and Tobago had a lot more workshops. I think it's the only chapter which had so many workshops and events across the globe. So great work in doing all of it. Just one thing which I would like to share with all of them is, my team actually placed 5th in the leaderboard in the 2023 Datathon.
I wish I would have said it. Yeah, go ahead. I wish I had known that.
We did not qualify for the prize money and the official recognition because we were the first place winners last year. So we are not qualified for winning any prize money this year.
Oh,
but
wow.
that's
Wow.
it.
Oh, glad to hear that, Usha. Congratulations.
Yeah,
that's
thank you so
very
much.
good. Thank you. Sokar, what about you? Any last words?
Yeah, I think you did a really great job, actually promoting this idea of Datathon, which is very interesting because we are actually seeing a lot of lack of data in the field of data science. I think we should go more for Datathon than maybe hackathon, because you need to have data first before we go for some hackathon. So this is a great idea. Thank you for organizing this and, just keep the great work you're doing.
Thank you, Sukar. I appreciate that. Very humbled by your kind words. Thank you so much. What about Mindy?
Well, I'd just like to say that if you're really interested in data science, just keep learning and just keep moving forward and everything will fall in its place. Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you, Mindy. Mercedes?
Yep. I would firstly like to say thanks to you especially for organizing this, but to everyone involved, because this, for me at least, this community was really what I needed in pushing forward in data science. And I'm sure it would be the same for a lot of other people. So thank you so much. And
really
to you
happy.
and everyone.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mercedes. That means a lot to me. And last but not least, Sabia?
I just want to say congrats to all the teams. As Sarah said, now starting off and jumping in the deep end, that's wonderful. And thanks to you, Letitia, and the organizing committee for having this, because I think it gave us all a sense of community that, we all we have shared experiences, although we are spread all over the world and in different industries, we still share the same experiences, which I think is very important to keep in mind as you continue to spread along in this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I mean, you all have really making me feel very humbled by this. And I will tell you that I thank you very much for being part of this experience with me. It's been a passion of mine to really bring people together. And as you said, community, Sabia, is really partly what I wanted to do. I felt very isolated for many years in this arena. So to kind of have this space, it really makes me very happy. So utmost thanks to all of you for being here and for all the attendees and everyone. And we will have a few events probably in April into May, and we'll of course post that on social media. And feel free to reach out to any of us for support. We will be here. And yes, and take care to everyone. Please continue to forge and blaze those trails, right? That's what we're here to do. So enjoy the rest of your day, night, wherever you are when you're seeing this, and we'll connect with you in the next one. So thank you and take care all.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.